Real power is when you feel everything but react to nothing. Have you ever felt your entire day get derailed by a single passive-aggressive work email? Or maybe a thoughtless comment someone left on your social media post? You were feeling fine, maybe even great. And then suddenly, your whole mood shifts, your focus shatters, and your peace is gone. That isn't just a bad moment. That's a moment where your emotions have taken the steering wheel of your life. If you don't learn how to take it back, this pattern will repeat itself endlessly. You'll say things you don't mean in a moment of anger. You'll make impulsive decisions that you regret for weeks. You'll hurt the people you care about, or you'll hurt your own progress, not because you're a bad person, but because you were never taught the power of the pause. This isn't about becoming a robot or ignoring your feelings. It's about learning to lead them. It's about being able to stand in the middle of a hurricane of external chaos and internal feeling, and still choose your next move with absolute clarity and intention. When you master the art of not reacting, everything in your life changes. You protect your energy, you maintain your clarity, and you command respect without saying a word. That is what we're going to explore. If you're ready to stop letting your emotions run the show and finally lead your life with unshakable strength, then you're in the right place. Welcome to Audiobook Bites. Do us a favor and hit that like button, subscribe, and let us know in the comments what you're hoping to master, because this journey is one we take together. Chapter 1. Confront the urge to react without obeying it. Life will constantly present you with moments designed to test your composure. Moments that shake you. It could be a colleague taking credit for your work in a meeting. It could be sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the 405 when you're already late. It could be a text message from a loved one that feels cold and dismissive. In those precise moments, a fire ignites within you. You feel it in your chest, a tightening. You feel it in your throat, a lump forming. You might even feel your hands clench. This urge to react builds with the speed of a spark hitting gasoline. Your emotions scream for an immediate response. Fire back, defend, correct, attack. But here is the fundamental truth that will change your life. Just because the urge is there does not mean you have to obey it. You can feel the full force of that emotional wave and choose not to act. That is the beginning of real power. That is when you stop being a slave to your feelings and start becoming their master. Our modern American culture doesn't teach us this. It teaches us the opposite. It glorifies the quick comeback, the witty retort on Twitter, the immediate defense of our ego. We're told to speak our truth the second we feel it, to challenge anyone who questions us. And that's precisely why so many people remain stuck in cycles of conflict and regret. They live their entire lives on autopilot, obeying every single emotional impulse as if it were a divine command. They believe their feelings are facts, but emotions are not facts. They are signals, and signals are meant to be read and interpreted, not blindly obeyed. There is a space, a tiny, precious sliver of time, between the emotion you feel and the action you take. Most people live their lives completely unaware that this space even exists. Strong, intentional people train themselves to find it, to widen it, and to live within it. The moment something upsets you, a criticism, a disappointment, an insult, there is a split second. In that split second, you feel the heat, the tension rises, your thoughts begin to race. And in that split second, you have a choice. You can surrender to the feeling and react, or you can face the urge, observe it without judgment, and refuse to give in. This is the essence of self-control. It's not about feeling nothing. It's about not being controlled by everything you feel. You must train your mind to ask a different set of questions in that critical moment. Not, how should I respond? But, is a response even necessary? Not, what can I say to win this? But, is this situation even worth my energy? When someone online leaves a hateful comment, you don't have to engage. When a family member makes an unfair criticism, you don't have to launch into a defense. When someone is clearly trying to push your buttons, you don't have to let them win. And most importantly, when your own emotions scream for attention, you do not have to give them the final say. You are not weak for feeling angry. You are not flawed for feeling hurt. Those are natural human emotions, but you are infinitely stronger when you don't allow those emotions to dictate your behavior. Reacting out of emotion hands your power over to the external world, to other people, to circumstances. Choosing not to react takes all of that power back. And this is a skill. It can be trained like a muscle. It begins with small, daily acts of awareness. When someone cuts you off on the freeway, feel the anger rise, but don't lay on the horn or tailgate them. Just breathe. When you read a work email that feels condescending, feel the frustration, but don't fire off an immediate defensive reply. Sit with it. Let the emotion be there. Don't fight it. Don't run from it. Just notice it. And then, choose your next move with purpose. This is how true control is built. Not in grand, dramatic gestures, but in the small, quiet moments of self-awareness, where you choose peace over impulse. So many people sabotage their own happiness over things they could have simply ignored. They engage in arguments with people they could have walked away from. They explain themselves to people who were never interested in understanding. They react from a place of fear, pride, or insecurity, and all it does is keep them trapped in a loop of trigger, reaction, and regret. But when you break that loop, when you start to face the urge to react without giving in, you step into a different reality, a life where you remain calm under pressure, a life where you walk away from chaos with your dignity intact, a life where your inner peace becomes more valuable than being right. Chapter 2. Let go of the need to be understood or right. One of the most difficult yet liberating skills to master is the ability to let someone believe something wrong about you and not feel the compulsive need to fix it. As human beings, we are wired for connection and validation. We want to be seen clearly. We want our intentions to be understood. We have a deep-seated desire to correct people when they get us wrong. But if you truly want to evolve into a stronger, more resilient version of yourself, you must learn this essential lesson. Not every misunderstanding is your assignment to correct. Your time, your words, and your emotional energy are finite, precious resources. In your life, you will encounter people who consistently misunderstand you. People who twist your words to fit their narrative. People who judge your actions without ever knowing the context in your heart. People who assume the worst and never bother to ask a single clarifying question. The natural, almost gravitational pull is to jump in, to explain, to defend, to lay out your case, to prove them wrong, to show them that your intentions were good. But you must understand this critical truth. Not everyone has earned the right to your explanation. Sometimes, people aren't misunderstanding you because of a lack of information. They're misunderstanding you on purpose because it serves them. It might give them a sense of power, it might confirm a bias they hold, or it might simply be that they have absolutely no interest in understanding any perspective beyond their own. Trying to change the minds of people who are committed to their misunderstanding is one of the most draining, soul-crushing activities you can engage in. It depletes your peace. It turns your inner calm into a battlefield of conflict. And, in the vast majority of cases, it changes absolutely nothing. You do not owe everyone a detailed breakdown of your life. If someone is determined to see you as the villain, they will, no matter how eloquently you plead your case. Here's an even harder pill to swallow. Some people are more comfortable with the wrong version of you because it protects their ego. It fits their story. It makes them feel justified in their own behavior. And if that's the case, no amount of facts, honesty, or vulnerability will ever break through their wall. The only thing you'll accomplish is wasting your breath and your energy. When you allow people to be wrong about you and you walk away without defending yourself, that is not weakness. That is a profound form of power. It is emotional maturity in action. It is the conscious choice of peace over ego. You are not abandoning the truth. You are protecting your energy. In a world that is constantly vying for your reaction, through social media notifications, 24/7 news cycles, and endless opinions, protecting your energy is one of the most radical acts of self-preservation you can perform. You have to start asking yourself the right questions. Why do I feel this desperate need for them to understand me? Will their opinion truly alter my path, my growth, my future? If the answer is no, you must learn to move forward without carrying the weight of their perception of you. You are not responsible for the narratives other people choose to build in their minds. You are not on this earth to convince everyone that you are a good person. You are here to live with integrity, to be true to your own values. You know who you are. You know what you meant. You know your heart. And for you, that must be enough. If you constantly chase the approval of people who are determined to misunderstand you, you will never find rest. You will always be performing, always explaining, always correcting. And slowly, piece by piece, you will lose yourself in the process. This doesn't mean you become callous, or that you never clear things up when a relationship truly matters. It means you develop the wisdom to discern the difference. The difference between a conversation that can lead to genuine clarity and one that is designed only to feed drama. If someone is approaching you with an open mind, if they value the connection, if they are willing to listen, then by all means, have the conversation. Speak your truth. But if their mind is already made up, if they are looking for a fight, if they are attached to the idea of being right, then do not waste your sacred breath. Your peace is more important than their approval. Your growth is more valuable than their opinion. Your time is too precious to be spent on arguments designed to pull you down. Let them hold on to the version of the story that makes them feel safe. You don't need to correct it. You don't need to fight it. You just need to move on, with your head held high and your heart at peace. Chapter 3. Learn to sit with tension instead of escaping it. Most people live their lives running from discomfort. The moment an uncomfortable feeling arises, anxiety, boredom, awkwardness, tension, their immediate instinct is to escape. They reach for their phones and scroll endlessly through TikTok. They start talking just to fill a moment of silence. They distract themselves with food, with noise, with a dozen mindless habits. But very few people learn the invaluable skill of just sitting with it. To sit with that tightness in your chest, the restlessness in your body, the overwhelming urge to move, to react, to do anything to avoid the feeling. The truth is, if you want to grow emotionally stronger, you must stop escaping discomfort and start learning from it. Tension is not your enemy. It is not something to be immediately eradicated. It is a messenger. It's your body's way of signaling that something inside of you requires attention, not avoidance, not escape, attention. And if you consistently run from that signal, you will never address the root issue. You'll just keep putting band-aids on it, but the tension will always return, again and again, each time a little stronger, until you finally stop running and feel it. When you practice sitting with tension, you are not surrendering to it. You are observing it. You are allowing yourself to feel without the immediate pressure to fix. You are training yourself to remain calm in the eye of your own internal storm. This is where real growth happens. It is in those uncomfortable moments, the very moments where most people check out, that you must learn to check in. Discomfort will teach you more about yourself than comfort ever will. It shows you your triggers. It reveals the limits of your patience. It highlights your conditioned patterns of escape. And if you are willing to stay present with it, even for just a few minutes, it will tell you the truth about yourself. You won't always like what you see. You'll notice how quickly your mind jumps to distractions, how desperately you try to control situations, how you rationalize your escape from what is hard to feel. But that awareness is the key. Because once you see the pattern, you can begin to change it. You can train your mind to stay put. You can train your body to breathe through the discomfort. You can train yourself not to react in the same old ways. You are not weak for feeling tension. You are human. Every single person on this planet feels it. The difference between those who grow and those who stay stuck lies in how they deal with it. Some avoid it, and their world shrinks. Others face it, and their capacity for life expands. You get to choose which path you take. The next time something uncomfortable happens, a difficult conversation looms, a moment of awkward silence hangs in the air, a negative thought you don't want to entertain appears. Just pause. Don't immediately reach for your phone. Don't rush to change the subject. Just sit. Notice your breath. Notice where the tension resides in your body. Is it in your stomach? Your shoulders? Your jaw? Just notice it. Don't judge it. Don't try to force it away. Simply feel it. This is the gym for your emotional strength. If you can sit with what makes you uncomfortable and not run, not react, not shut down, you are learning how to take your power back. You are learning to respond with intention instead of escaping with a habit. Most of the chaos in people's lives doesn't stem from what they feel. It stems from what they do to avoid what they feel. They say things they don't mean. They make financial decisions they later regret. They act out of panic, stress, or fear, not because they are bad people, but because they never learned how to be still in a difficult moment. If you train yourself to sit with tension, you'll discover something remarkable. The feeling doesn't last as long as you fear. It is our resistance to it that gives it power and longevity. When you allow it to simply be there, it often softens and dissipates on its own. Your mind becomes clearer. Your thoughts slow down. Your heart rate settles. And in that newfound stillness, you begin to see the situation with more accuracy. You realize you don't have to solve everything in the same moment you feel it. Sometimes, your only job is to feel it and let it pass through you. You are not broken because you feel overwhelmed. You are not failing at life because you feel pressure. The goal isn't a life free from tension. The goal is to not be controlled by it. Chapter 4. Respect your silence. More than instant understanding. There will be times in your life when your silence is the only thing that stands between you and the loss of your peace. Times when someone says something that strikes a nerve. Times when your actions are completely misinterpreted. Times when you feel an immense pressure to speak up, to clarify, to explain, just to make someone see your side of the story. But one of the most profound skills you can develop is learning to value your silence more than the immediate need to be understood. Not every moment requires a response. Not every situation needs your voice. And not every misunderstanding is worthy of your emotional energy. You do not have to rush to fix everyone's opinion of you. You don't need to jump in and provide a play-by-play of your every move. You don't owe anyone instant access to your thoughts just because they demand it. Silence gives you something that no amount of frantic explanation ever can: space. And in that space, clarity is born. It's in that space that you can slow down long enough to see things for what they really are, not just what your initial emotional reaction tells you they are. In that space, you reclaim your power. Most people talk because they are deeply uncomfortable with being misunderstood. They operate under the false belief that if they don't explain themselves immediately, they will lose control of the narrative. But the truth is, chasing understanding too quickly often makes things worse. It leads to over-explaining, which can sound defensive. It leads to saying things you didn't fully mean. It leads to reacting from a place of raw emotion rather than thoughtful consideration. That is not control. That is fear wearing the mask of urgency. When you learn to sit comfortably in your own silence, you stop giving away your emotional energy so freely. You stop feeling the desperate need to be right in the moment. You release the need to control what others think, and you begin to respect your own inner world more than the noise of the outside world. That is a powerful shift in consciousness. That is where you stop being reactive and start being truly intentional. This doesn't mean you adopt a permanent vow of silence or suppress what truly matters. It means you pause long enough to ensure that when you do speak, your words add value, not more confusion. It means you speak when you are clear, not just when you are triggered. It means you protect the power of your voice by not wasting it on situations that don't deserve it. There is wisdom in silence. There is strength in non-reaction. There is discipline in holding back when every fiber of your being wants to jump into the fray. That is where your growth lies, in that tiny gap between what you feel and what you say. Most people rush right past that gap. But when you learn to live in it, you become harder to shake. You don't get pulled into every pointless argument. You don't rush to defend yourself against every perceived slight. You don't say things just to hear your own voice. You learn to speak from a grounded, centered place, and that makes every word you utter carry more weight and impact. Sometimes, the most powerful statement you can make is to say nothing at all. Not because you don't care, and not because you are weak, but because you possess the wisdom to know that not every battle is yours to fight. You've seen the consequences of speaking too fast. You've experienced the exhaustion of explaining too much. And you've learned that silence doesn't mean losing. It means leading yourself first. The need to be understood is a natural human desire. Everyone wants to be seen for who they truly are. But needing that validation too quickly and from everyone can turn you into a validation seeker, constantly chasing people's approval. This chase always leads to frustration, because no matter how perfectly you explain yourself, some people simply will not get it. Some people aren't listening to understand. They are listening to respond. Or worse, they are listening to judge. So you offer them your truth, and they twist it. You open your heart, and they ignore it. You try to clarify, and they argue harder. And in the end, you are the one left feeling drained and diminished. Chapter 5. Notice the moment. Your pride wants to speak. There is a moment, so subtle and fleeting, that most people miss it entirely. It's the moment when something inside of you rises up and pushes you to say something, not because it's true, not because it's helpful, not because it will bring peace, but simply to protect your image. That is the moment your pride wants to speak. This moment often appears when you feel judged, when you feel disrespected, or when someone says something that challenges your sense of worth or questions your intelligence. And right there, in that split second, pride steps forward and demands to speak on your behalf. But here is the critical distinction you must learn to make. Pride does not speak to solve. It speaks to defend. It speaks to make you feel superior in the short term, not to make the situation better in the long term. It speaks to hold on to a feeling of power, even if it costs you your peace. And if you don't learn how to catch that moment, to identify that voice, you will keep falling into the same trap, reacting in ways that provide a fleeting hit of satisfaction for your ego, followed by hours or days of regret. Pride has a loud, arrogant voice. It wants to interrupt. It wants to have the last word. It wants to prove the other person wrong. It wants to make absolutely sure that you don't look weak, don't look foolish, don't look wrong. And when pride is the one speaking, it has no concern for the relationship, no interest in understanding, and no allegiance to the actual truth. Pride only cares about one thing: winning the moment. That's why so many arguments in our lives go absolutely nowhere, in our workplaces, in our families, and especially online. They become two monologues of pride with nobody actually listening. You have to train yourself to become a keen observer of your inner world, to notice when your pride is about to take the microphone. It doesn't always announce itself with a shout. It often starts as a whisper, a rapid-fire thought, a surge of adrenaline, a tightening in your chest, a sudden, urgent feeling that you need to say something right now so you don't look bad. That is your cue. That is the moment your power lies, not in speaking, but in recognizing that urge and pausing. Ask yourself a simple, clarifying question. Why am I about to say this? Is it because it is true, necessary, and kind? Or is it because my pride feels threatened? If the answer is pride, you have a choice. You can let it speak, pour gasoline on the fire, and escalate the conflict. Or you can step back, hold your ground in quiet strength, and let the moment pass without sacrificing your inner peace. It takes immense emotional strength to sit with your pride and not obey its commands. It takes clarity to see that just because you feel the need to respond, it doesn't mean a response is necessary or wise. And most of all, it takes maturity to value your long-term peace over your short-term ego. Pride always wants the last word. It's obsessed with being right. But being right doesn't always lead to feeling good. It doesn't make you stronger. In fact, it often leaves you feeling more frustrated, more drained, and more disconnected from others. In the process of trying to win the moment, you often lose the bigger picture, the relationship, the project, your own tranquility. You will be tested constantly. In moments when people speak carelessly, when they criticize your hard work, when they underestimate your abilities, when they tell a story and get the facts wrong about you. In all these moments, pride will be the first voice to rise up in your defense. But that doesn't mean it's the one you have to listen to. Become a student of your own pride. Notice how it turns small misunderstandings into massive fights. Notice how it makes you say things you never planned to say, things that are often cruel. Notice how it keeps you stuck in cycles of conflict and regret. The more aware you become of its tactics, the more power you gain over your responses. Chapter 6. Build space between your feelings and your next move. There is a single moment that determines the quality of your entire life. It is a small, almost invisible space that exists between what you feel and what you do next. The vast majority of people never even notice this space. They go straight from emotion to reaction, from a feeling of frustration to a sharp tone of voice, from a surge of fear to immediate withdrawal, from a flash of anger to a regrettable action. But If you want to take command of your life, if you want to stop being a puppet pulled by the strings of external events, you must learn how to consciously build and widen the space between what you feel and what you do. Feelings are fast. They can rise up in seconds, often without warning, and they are incredibly powerful. But feelings are also temporary. They are like weather patterns. They move, they shift, they change. And if you don't pause before you act on them, you will end up creating permanent consequences from temporary emotions. Those consequences can follow you for far longer than the feeling itself ever lasted. Building space means deliberately choosing not to react right away. It means creating a conscious pause, even if it's just for 3 seconds. 3 seconds is enough time to take one deep breath. It's enough time to ask one clarifying question. It's enough time to choose how you want to respond instead of being hijacked by the heat of the moment. That space is where your discipline is forged. That space is where your growth happens. You do not have to act simply because you feel something. That is the behavior of a child. Children cry when they are uncomfortable. They shout when they are angry. They lash out when they don't get their way. But you are not a child anymore. You have the capacity for higher-level thinking, for reflection, for choosing what kind of person you want to be, even and especially when you are triggered. Most of the problems in our lives do not come from the feelings themselves. They come from the unthinking actions that follow those feelings. It's the angry text sent at 2 a.m. It's the defensive tone you use with your partner. It's the impulsive financial decision made out of fear or greed. It's the words spoken in a flash of anger that can never be fully taken back. That is why the space between feeling and action is the most sacred and important territory you can cultivate. That space can save a relationship. That space can protect your career. That space can keep your future from being defined by a single moment of emotional chaos. You won't always get it right. Sometimes your emotions will get the better of you. You will say something before thinking. You will respond out of a place of hurt. That is part of being human. The goal is not perfection. The goal is progress through awareness. And awareness is what creates the opportunity to slow down, to observe what is happening inside you, and to ask yourself if the action you are about to take is truly aligned with your deepest values, or if it's just a knee-jerk reaction to a fleeting emotion. Emotions are not your enemy. They are data. They are information. They are signals that show you what matters to you. They highlight where you have been wounded, what you value, and what you fear. But you do not have to obey every signal your body sends. You can feel something with every fiber of your being and still choose not to respond immediately. That is real strength. That is emotional intelligence in its highest form. The next time you feel triggered, don't rush to act. Instead, step back internally. Notice what's happening in your body. Is your chest tight? Is your heart racing? Is your mind creating worst-case scenarios? That is your cue. That is your signal to create space, to pause, to breathe, and to ask yourself, what is really going on underneath this surface-level emotion? Maybe it's not just anger. Maybe it's disappointment. Maybe it's not just frustration. Maybe it's exhaustion. Maybe this intense reaction isn't even about what just happened, but about something that happened 10 years ago that you still haven't healed. Without space, you will never know. Without space, you will keep reacting to the symptoms and never get to the root cause. Chapter 7. Stop chasing control over how others treat you. One of the single most exhausting and futile endeavors you can undertake in life is trying to control how other people treat you. On the surface, it sounds like a reasonable goal. We all want to be treated with respect, fairness, and kindness. We want to be appreciated and valued. But here is the hard truth that most people spend their entire lives fighting against. You cannot force anyone to act right. You cannot make someone speak kindly. You cannot will someone to feel the way you want them to feel. People will treat you based on their own level of consciousness, their own inner world, and their own unhealed wounds, not based on your level of effort or your worthiness. The more you chase control over someone else's behavior, the more you lose control over your own peace of mind. You can communicate your needs clearly. You can set healthy boundaries. You can show up with unwavering integrity in every interaction. But none of that guarantees that people will match your energy. None of it guarantees they will be kind or considerate. Some people will still misunderstand you. Some will still disrespect you. Some will still ignore your worth, even when you have done everything right. That is not a reflection of your failure. It is a reflection of their limitation. You must stop tying your emotional well-being to the behavior of others. If your peace for the day depends on how your boss talks to you, how your partner greets you, or whether a friend includes you, then you have handed over the keys to your own happiness. Once you do that, your day can be ruined by a single text message, a single glance, a single tone of voice. You become perpetually reactive, anxious, and drained, not because of who you are, but because of who you are trying to fix or control. Trying to control how others treat you is like trying to control the weather. You can prepare for rain by bringing an umbrella. You can respond wisely by seeking shelter. But you cannot make the sun shine just because you want it to. The same is true with people. You cannot force someone to value what they don't have the capacity to understand. You cannot make someone show up for you in the way that you show up for them. And the more you try to force it, the more pain and frustration you invite into your life. Your job is to let people reveal who they are. Give them the freedom to show you their patterns. If they are consistently inconsistent, believe them. If they are disrespectful, see it for what it is. Stop making excuses for them. Stop twisting yourself into a pretzel to fit their expectations just to earn the basic decency you think you deserve. You do not have to earn basic human respect. And if someone makes you feel like you do, that is a giant red flag, not a challenge for you to try harder to win them over. A huge part of emotional maturity is the deep understanding that how people treat you has far more to do with them than it does with you. People project their own fears. They act from their own insecurities. They speak through the filter of their past traumas. And if you take all of that personally, you will spend your entire life trying to adjust yourself for people who don't even understand themselves. Stop chasing their approval. Stop trying to fix their attitude. Stop bending your own values just to keep them comfortable. If you have to constantly remind someone how to treat you, they are not your people. Respect is not something you should have to beg for. It should be given freely, not earned through exhausting emotional labor. Now, this does not mean you become a passive doormat or accept mistreatment. It means you make a critical shift in your energy. You stop focusing on changing them, and you start focusing on choosing you. You walk away from conversations that drain you. You create distance from relationships that confuse you. You let your silence speak where your words are no longer effective. That is not giving up. That is self-respect in action. Chapter 8. Choose not to explain yourself when it's pointless. One of the most profoundly liberating decisions you will ever make is the choice not to explain yourself when you know, deep down, that it will not change a thing. This isn't about avoiding accountability. It's not about hiding the truth. It's about reaching a level of wisdom where you finally realize that your inner peace is more valuable than the futile effort of forcing people to understand what they are committed to not seeing. You reach a point in your life where you understand that your energy is a finite resource. It is your most valuable currency. And every time you invest it in explaining yourself to someone who has already made up their mind, you are giving away a part of that energy that you will never get back. There are people in this world who ask questions not because they seek to understand, but because they are mining for more ammunition to doubt you. There are people who listen only to find flaws in your words, not to grasp your intentions. And there are people who, no matter how carefully and honestly you explain yourself, will cling to their distorted version of the story because it serves them. When you can recognize these patterns, you stop chasing clarity from those who have chosen to live in confusion. Some conversations are productive and necessary. Others are pointless energy drains. Wisdom is knowing the difference. You do not owe everyone an explanation for your life choices, your boundaries, or your feelings. This is especially true when you sense the other person's goal isn't resolution, but control. When their aim is not to learn, but to win. Some people ask, why? Not because they desire insight, but because they are preparing to argue with whatever you say. And when you feel that energy, it is not weak to say nothing. It is wise. When you stop explaining yourself to people who are not genuinely listening, you reclaim a vital part of yourself. You are no longer under the constant pressure to prove, to convince, to defend your every move. You start to breathe deeper. You feel a new sense of strength and groundedness. You begin to live for your own truth, not for the approval of others. Because the act of explaining yourself is only effective when the person on the receiving end is actually open. Open to hearing you. Open to caring. Open to letting go of their preconceived notions and assumptions. There is a specific kind of exhaustion that comes from over-explaining. It leaves you feeling depleted and small. It can make you second-guess your own reality. It keeps you trapped in a draining cycle of trying to manage someone else's thoughts and perceptions. But that is not your job. You are not responsible for fixing someone's opinion of you. You are responsible for living with integrity and letting your actions speak for themselves. If someone misunderstands you, and you have made a reasonable effort to be clear, then you have done enough. Beyond that, it is out of your hands. It is a waste of your precious time and mental health to keep reopening a situation just to feel seen by someone who is determined to keep their eyes closed. When you first start holding back from explaining, it will feel uncomfortable. The urge to defend yourself will be strong. You will want to make things right. But over time, that discomfort will transform into a profound sense of clarity. You will realize that your silence is not weakness. It is a boundary. It is you implicitly saying, I am no longer going to spend my life auditioning for the role of being understood by people who don't even value the concept of understanding. You will begin to say less and live more. You will find yourself gracefully walking away from conversations that are going in circles. You will start to trust that your actions over time will reveal more about your character than your words in a heated moment ever could. And you learn to be okay with being misunderstood, not because you've stopped caring, but because you've finally started caring more about your emotional and mental health than about someone else's unchangeable opinion. Chapter 9. Hold your energy when the world pulls it from you. There will be days, and they will be frequent, when everything around you feels loud and demanding. Your boss needs that report by 5. Your kids are asking for help with homework. Your phone is buzzing with a constant stream of notifications. Deadlines are pressing down, social obligations are piling up, and unexpected problems are appearing when you least have the energy to deal with them. In the midst of all that, the world is doing one thing relentlessly. It is pulling your energy in 1,000 different directions. Everyone wants a piece of you. Everything feels urgent. And if you are not careful, if you are not fiercely protective, you will give yourself away, piece by piece, until there is absolutely nothing left for you. You must learn how to hold your energy when the world is trying to pull it out of you. This is not about being selfish. It's not about being uncaring. It is about understanding the fundamental truth that you cannot pour from an empty cup, and that your peace of mind is too valuable to be given away indiscriminately. This is about learning to stay steady and grounded in a world that is always moving at breakneck speed. It's about not letting every demand, every distraction, and every emotional flare-up pull you away from your center. You do not owe your full, undivided emotional attention to everything that happens around you. Not every situation deserves your full-blown reaction. Not every conversation requires your complete emotional investment. You get to choose where your energy flows. And that choice, when made consciously and consistently, will determine the quality of your entire life. There is a critical difference between being present and being pulled. Being present means you are here, in the moment, but you are anchored and grounded in yourself. Being pulled means your mind, your emotions, and your focus are being constantly scattered by external forces, leaving you feeling fragmented and exhausted. One negative news alert can ruin your morning. One critical comment can shift your entire mood. One dismissive look from someone else, and suddenly you feel off balance and insecure. But here is what you must internalize. Your energy is your responsibility. You cannot give the world, your job, or other people the permission to decide how much of yourself you hand out each day. You have to become intimately aware of your own limits. You have to know when you are stretching yourself too thin. And most importantly, you have to have the courage to pull back when you need to. People will keep asking. Life will keep demanding. The world will not stop knocking on your door. But you have to develop the wisdom to know when to answer and when to let the moment pass. You cannot put out every fire. You cannot find peace by trying to please everyone. If you try to meet every need, respond to every emotion, and fix every problem, you will inevitably burn out. Not all at once, but in a slow, creeping erosion of your vitality until exhaustion becomes your new normal. Holding your energy is not about becoming distant or cold. It is about being wise. It's about knowing that when your mind is tired, your decisions become weaker. When your heart is drained, your patience grows shorter. When your energy is scattered, your focus disappears. And when you live in that state for too long, you begin to forget who you are at your core. So, you must learn to slow down. Pay meticulous attention to what drains you. Notice which people leave you feeling heavy and depleted after every conversation. Notice what situations cause your thoughts to spiral into anxiety. Then, in those moments, ask yourself a powerful question. Do I need to give this my full energy right now? Or do I need to protect myself? You are not being rude by creating space. You are being responsible. The version of you that shows up tired, reactive, and overwhelmed is not truly helping anyone, least of all yourself. Chapter 10. Decide to lead yourself before emotions lead you. Every single day you wake up, one fundamental question is already waiting for you, whether you realize it or not. Who is going to lead your life today? You or your emotions? That choice, which is made not once but 100 times a day, is the single greatest determinant of your destiny. It is the difference between building a life that is grounded in purpose and discipline and living a life that is constantly reacting to whatever fleeting feeling happens to show up. Emotions are an integral part of the human experience. You will feel anger, sadness, excitement, fear, doubt, frustration, and hope, sometimes all within the same hour. But those emotions were never designed to be your leader. They are meant to be your advisors. They are meant to be noticed, to be understood, and to be managed. You were never meant to follow the command of every emotional wave that crashes on your shores. You were meant to be the lighthouse, the steady, guiding presence that leads yourself through the storm. Deciding to lead yourself means you take radical, 100% responsibility for your reactions. You stop blaming your mood, your circumstances, your past, or other people for how you show up in the world. You come to the profound realization that feelings are real, but they are not the ultimate reality. They pass, they change, and they very often lie to you. If you consistently let your emotions make your most important decisions, you will forever be changing direction every time something gets hard or doesn't feel good in the moment. You will quit on goals you actually want to achieve. You will damage relationships you deeply care about. You will say things that are completely out of alignment with the person you aspire to be. Not because you are a bad person, but because you did not pause long enough to lead yourself first. The world is full of people who never learned this lesson. They let frustration guide their words. They let fear decide their career choices. They let insecurity shape their actions. And then they look around, bewildered, wondering why their life feels so chaotic and out of control. But the truth is, the chaos isn't coming from the world. It's coming from what they are allowing to lead them on the inside. They have handed the steering wheel of their life to whatever feeling happens to be the strongest in the moment. And the longer you live that way, the more out of alignment and dissatisfied your life becomes. Leading yourself means you do not wait for motivation to strike before you act. You do what needs to be done, especially when you don't feel like it. You remain calm, even when your mind is screaming to panic. You uphold your standards, even when your emotions are trying to convince you to lower them. This is not about being cold or robotic. It is the definition of maturity. It is the essence of strength. It is true leadership, and it always starts from the inside out. You don't control the initial feeling that arises. That part is often automatic. But you always control what you do with that feeling. And when you stop giving your emotions the final say, you begin to build a deep and unshakable trust in yourself. You start walking through difficult moments with more clarity and grace. You stop avoiding discomfort and start facing it with purpose. You stop being driven by your fluctuating moods and start being driven by your core values. Most people are waiting for motivation. They wait to feel good before they take action. But real, meaningful growth doesn't happen in those easy moments. It happens when you move forward in spite of how you feel. When you wake up tired, but you still get up and do the work. When you feel offended, but you still choose to respond with calm dignity. When you feel completely overwhelmed, but you still take that one small step forward. That is what it means to lead yourself. Your emotions will always offer you the easy way out. React now. Say what's on your mind without thinking. Quit because it's uncomfortable. Blame someone else. Avoid the hard conversation. But leadership, self-leadership, says, pause, breathe, think, choose. Ask yourself, what would the highest version of myself do right now? And then you act like that person. Not based on your current emotion, but based on your long-term vision for your life. You do not build a strong life by obeying every emotional impulse. You build it by staying steady when everything inside you wants to run. You build it by doing the right thing when the easy thing feels so much better.